So I'd be talking shit. Do I back it up?
Thank you for coming this evening. My name is Thomas Joyner Jr., and I am here speaking tonight on behalf of my father who could not make it. I've known Frank myself for probably a little over 30 years. I first met him around 87 or 88 when my parents were collecting black art, and Frank came by our home to deliver some art. Back then, as a teenage high schooler, Frank's art stood out to me. My parents had a lot of black art, and Frank's electric colors, as well as the kente prints and the African influence, really stood out to me, especially being at the same time that we were listening to Public Enemy and stuff like that. So, as I went off to college in the 90s to Howard University in Washington, D.C., we had a class in my freshman year where we had to read Frazier Bell's Waiting to Exhale. And so when this main character pointed down the book that she had Frank Frazier pictures on her wall, well, I had an immediate vision of that. And so later on throughout that decade, I came to know firsthand Frank's national and international renown as I would notice his pieces. For example, I went to go see Quentin Tarantino's Jackie Brown, and there's a scene in there where you see Frank's work in her apartment. And there are several other movies I remember seeing in the 90s that would feature Frank's work. And then, of course, back to the advocacy part, I started working with my father in the 2000s. We started the Tom Joyner Foundation, raising money for historically black colleges and universities. And during that is when I really came to start working with and knowing Frank on a more personal level, especially as an artist and as an advocate. At the Tom Joyner Foundation and our Fantastic Voyage cruise, we would always raise money for HBCUs and awareness for those schools. And you could tell that HBCUs were very heavy on Frank's mind back then. His work would reflect the names, themes, things that were going on at HBCUs, and through that, the content was matching the beneficiaries, and that the works he was selling on board of our cruise year after year, all those monies, hundreds of thousands of dollars generated went towards scholarships. Not just our scholarships, but scholarships for students attending HBCUs, whether it be at Howard University or Paul Quinn College or Talladega College or wherever. Frank would always make sure that he had pieces that were customized to those schools that talked about those schools. And throughout that time, Frank was doing lots of advocacy, not just for HBCUs and Tom Joyner Foundation, but also as Mr. Brooks mentioned, the Congressional Black Caucus, the NAACP.
This is brought to you by Africana Art.